Just recently, in fact, just this October, the Philippine government adopted the Social Protection Operational Framework and Strategy. And this month, we're also going to come out with, do a workshop on coming out with a handbook or the programs to be able to pursue the framework. And with the social protection floor, a recommendation already adopted by the ILO last June, we hope that we will be able to see the social protection floor as part of this social protection framework of our government.
I think even Cambodia already adopted the National Social Protection Strategy, but to make sure that the strategy is a success in implementing, I think we have to count on other strategy. For me, I think that first we need to highlight the political will of the royal government of Cambodia. For example, we can convince to the public that the government has very strong political will in implementing the social protection floor in Cambodia. For example, the Prime Minister himself presided over the official launching of the strategy, and he attached the focal and strategic team of the National Social Protection Floor team to Prime Minister, and he also instruct the team to make a presentation to all provincial governors to make sure that the both national and local government agency understand the need of the National Social Protection Strategy.
So we're trying to influence the policymakers like ministerial offices, including also the planning agencies, by having the public consultations involving them, in addition to involving them in the capacity building so they can well understood the issues, but also they can actually have a roles in coordinating all the input, feedback, and the exercise, including preparing the report, will accommodate all the feedback and that in line with the government priorities. We have to involve from the beginning because we're trying to build the ownerships, but also to make a follow-up, and hopefully they can integrate on their own strategy.
So we also particularly work together with the National Planning Agency, or the Bappenas. And the Bappenas is helping us a lot with not only information, providing information, but also editing and the whole process. And it will be a joint publication with Bappenas. So that way we ensure that the relevant parties endorse the assessment. The bodies that will provide us with the right information, but also these are the institutions that will make sure that the assessment doesn't stop there. So, and also as I said before, this probably took us more time and more energy in getting people sit together, consultation, one-on-one consultation or in workshops and so on. When that has been achieved, then all the data comes, because you know where to contact to get data, and they help with cross-checking the information, and they help with providing their views as to whether the analysis are realistic or not, and so on.
The Ministry of Labor and Vocational Training do get involved in providing the vocational training to the poor and the nearly poor, and we also get involved in the National Social Security Fund that give the work insurance to our workforce. And for the future, I think the Ministry of Labor and Vocational Training have to keep active role in the social protection floor, especially to promote the vocational training as a tool to provide the skill for the poor and the nearly poor to be enable them to increase their productivity in agriculture or improve the productivity in the manufacturing sector that they belong to. Now the ministry also need to expand the coverage of the National Social Security Fund, not only to focus on the work insurance, but maybe also universal, not universal, but to the health insurance to the workforce who are employed in the formal sector. I think it is important because some workforce who work in the formal sector, they are work in the labor-intensive sector, so they are just above the nearly poor. So it's highly possibly that they may become poor if there is any economic shock. So if we provide the health insurance to those workforce, I think those workforce or their family member will be secure from any shock. And more importantly, I think the ministry also need to focus on the labor market and the training information to the rural poor in order for them to make a better decision which skill or where should they looking for the employment. So with all these three components, I think we will be able to contribute to a better national social protection strategy in Cambodia.
The way forward for us is that we would need to convince the policymakers. This includes the politicians, the government, and the ministries, the ministers, to look into this recommendation and work with us how to materialize or how to make the recommendation a reality.
The ALDE strategy is trying to make the Bappenas, for instance, as a champion, so they can buy in the idea and make a follow-up on that. So now, for instance, the social protection floor assessment is being reviewed by coordination of the Bappenas, and they're trying to make it finalized as soon as possible. So now Bappenas is very active in making it happen.
The employers' organizations in the Philippines and in other countries should be able to contribute substantially in the discussions during the national dialogue. I say this because employers' organizations should have something to contribute, especially in terms of policy formulation, the design of the social protection schemes, as well as the implementation of the social protection measures.
So HelpAge work with affiliates and partner in the different countries in this region. We help them to get information and also share experience of different countries working on the social protection law. We also facilitate their participation in different training that will help them to have a better understanding and encourage them to participate in or engage in the social protection discussion in the countries so that they are aware and can promote social protection concept. HelpAge try to facilitate the support, mobilize support from CSO so that they can express their support to the recommendation which we as CSO have been working with ILO, provide inputs during the different discussion workshop that led by ILO. And we will further do that after the launch of the report. Of course, in close collaboration with ILO. And we hope that by having CSO support, the government will be more willing to implement at least some of the recommendations in the report.
So there's a lot of process in getting all the different stakeholders together, and I think that's the most, at one side, most challenging, and on the other hand also the most rewarding, because that way when you engage all the stakeholders, you know that their endorsement will help us get to achieve better social protection law.
The International Council of Social Welfare is the ICSW. We have made a commitment at the UN level to enabling the social protection flow in all the countries that we are operating in. As the regional president for Southeast Asia and Pacific, I am committed to the members in our ASEAN countries, and many of them have already begun, the members, to do 101 on social protection flow, because many do not quite understand what this is about. So I think we need to do a lot of capacity building. Secondly, we also need to do what we are here about today, the assessment matrix. To improve on what is going on in one's country, we need to first review, we need to do the assessment. This is both content as well as technical skills. ICSW will enable such a process wherever we can find the funds to bring people together and work with ILO on this. Thirdly, I think the advocacy side. After you have done the reviewing, you need to do like what we are doing today, the costing, and put up papers that show the government you are not an adversary, you are a partner in trying to help and do the best for the people in your country. Lastly, we will definitely we are already doing it, and we'll continue to share information, highlight websites, highlight examples where such good practices are already there. Why are all these important? Because if we totally believe that the social protection flow is the way to bring up many communities that are vulnerable and marginalized, we have no choice as the International Council of Social Welfare to advocate and to do the work with our members.